All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. I'm here with a band that is relatively new to me. I think that I first became aware of you just really based on the name because you have a very unusual name for a band, and I feel like we'll probably get into that in a second. But if the three of you want to introduce yourselves and what you do in the group, I think that's a really good way of starting it off.
I'll start.
Sure.
I'm Cody Ray Valentonis. I play the bass and sing. Well, we all sing, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Grant Prosser. I play guitar and sing when we play live. Yeah.
And I'm Nate Jacobucci, and I play keyboards and sing as well.
Well, maybe that the whole singing thing is a good place to start because just listening to that record that you put out late last year, there's a lot of a lot of vocals on it. I mean, not necessarily more than anyone else's record, but I mean, you're clearly all singing. There's lots of harmonies. There's lots. It just seems very heavy on the vocals in a good way. What is sort of the I guess the origin of the three of you singing together? Because obviously you've been doing it for long enough that you've sort of developed a sound on the vocal side of things.
Uh, that was something I guess all three of us separately kind of admired or learned from. I guess in our musical education, like I personally love the Beach Boys. I know Nate does. We all like the Beatles, so like singing three-part harmonies was kind of something we kind of enjoy doing, and it just kind of became a part of our process, and yeah, it's really like kind of building vocal parts.
Is that more of a something that is kind of focused on heavily when it comes to recording, or is that something you do live as well? I mean, is I guess how much of that three-part harmony is something you guys can just pull off sort of on the spot, and how much of it is something that's kind of worked over in the studio when you're recording?
I guess we try to replicate it live as best as we can. We're generally, I think all of us sing on pretty much everything live.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Just usually the primary songwriter will take the lead vocal in most cases, and then we'll just kind of add our harmonies to it and collaborate on the arrangements. And yeah, that tends to be how it works out.
Okay, okay. Is that how they're written too? Like with one person sort of bringing the song in and then everyone else contributing their bits to it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it works that way, and then other times there's like a three-part collaboration or two-part collaboration. Like it works multiple ways, but yeah, I mean Nate writes a huge portion of the song, so it's a lot of the time it is tilted in that way.
And then the other two are just sort of adding color to that and adding suggestions of different parts. Okay, okay. I guess how long has this been a unit? How long have the three of you actually been playing music together?
February 2016, I believe.
That's really specific. Like usually it'll be like, I don't know, 5 years or so, but you've got the actual month. How do you know what month it was?
I just remember jamming with them for the first time because I met Grant on Kijiji like in late 2015, and we started hanging out and we became really good friends. And then yeah, Grant introduced me to Cody and we had a jam, and yeah, we just kind of started playing together, and we started recording our first album shortly after that. So
Was there an idea of what you wanted to sound like when this got started? Because I mean, I'll get into the horrible question that no one likes answering about what kind of music you play in a minute. But I mean, when you started out, was there sort of a goal as to what sort of style or what kind of stuff you were influenced by as the three of you?
The Beatles.
Yeah, yeah. So the pop thing was very strong from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We always wanted, like, we set out to make our first album to, I don't know, make like a psychedelic, I don't know, 60s kind of oriented album. Like for me going into it, I kind of wanted to make like this dream album. And,
Okay.
it just kind of all seemed like we were on the same page in the making of that.
What is it about that 60s kind of sound that appeals to you? Like, why is it timeless? Well, what has made that last? Because I mean, there's certain genres of music that have kind of their moment, right, and then they fade away, and other things replace them. But that sort of sound, like some of those bands you're mentioning, I mean, they've kind of always been sort of present in the musical timeline. What do you think it is that keeps them kind of up there in people's minds?
Just the overall sound and just how, I don't know, the musicianship and like the recordings in general. Like even like on our last album, we didn't really use click tracks on most of it. We recorded it live off the floor, and I think even just the way the music breathes and stuff. Like,
Yeah, it's like you can't fake any of that. Like it has to
Right.
be done organically.
And does having that experience of recording live off the floor like that, is that, I mean, do you think that added to the sound? Like, I mean, is that something that you can kind of hear, that live organicness when you listen back to those recordings?
I think so. Yeah, like the tracks definitely have a lot of sway to them. You can sometimes, if you listen really close, you can hear someone talking in the back, or like making a comment or something. Like there's lots of uh, little Easter eggs of the process um, tucked away in the track. So I think that kind of adds to it.
Are those there deliberately, or is that just something that kind of happened over the process of recording?
I mean, some of it's deliberate. Others, it's just kind of artifacts of that process. Like
yeah.
everything's being recorded in the same rooms. There's bleed from one instrument to another, and yeah.
Now I'm gonna go to the shitty question that everyone hates, but I mean, like obviously that '60s pop stuff, the kind of psychedelic element of that era is in there, but there's so much other stuff happening, and just in listening to some of those songs today, it seems like the record shifts genre wise like repeatedly, sometimes even within individual songs. So do you have a way of defining your sound in like an easy Cole's Notes kind of fashion? I mean, because there's songs that have like very obviously soul elements to them, and then there's little jazz bits here and there. There's tons of pop, obviously kind of saturating the whole thing. What do you call it?
uh, we struggle very heavily with trying to pin that down, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we've called ourselves a psychedelic folk rock band. I think that's the best we've been able to, I don't know, boil it down. But what do you think, Cody?
I think we play music. No, yeah, psychedelic folk rock, psychedelic pop rock, you can call it. Uh, I don't know what genre is Steely Dan, like jazz rock,
Maybe, yeah.
fusion rock.
Oh yeah.
But then we go into country sometimes. Yeah, it's just like a psychedelic mess of, I don't know, consciousness, and it's like a human brain almost in
Right,
music,
right.
but a human brain that kind of flicks all over the place.
Right, which is actually not a bad way to put together something creative, right? Where you're just literally emptying your brain out with all of its different influences
Yeah.
and ideas into sort of one bucket, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Are those different sort of genre experiments within the songs and within the records? Are those kind of distinctly related to different writers? I mean, if you hear like suddenly a jazz part comes in, is that clearly one of you who has contributed to that, or is it really like sort of the three of you just all contributing these weird ideas?
I mean, Cody is the biggest jazz guy out of all of us.
Mhm.
Like that's kind of your territory.
Yeah, usually I'll bring in the jazz sections.
Okay. Is that
And then Grant kind of has a twangy guitar sound that comes out in like the more folky country songs. So I don't know. I could think of for that.
well? And you don't have to define it either. I mean, it's one of those things that we're in this era where everyone wants to define everything down to like this very very specific post this something core. They put it in a little bag so everyone can search for it on whatever streaming service they use or whatever. But yeah, it is kind of nice to hear that kind of variety happening, where one song is not necessarily going to be the same as the next, or even the same as the next verse. So I appreciate that about the record.
Yeah, thank you.
When did this, like, how long has this particular album been in the works?
think the initial sessions began in like late 2019.
Yeah, yeah, we got quite a ways with it just before COVID happened, and then yeah, it was brought to a grinding halt, and then as restrictions and stuff would lift, we would start working on it again, and yeah, there was a lot of stops to it, but every time we did start working on it, it would we'd make a lot of progress quite quickly. It seems, but
There were songs though that we started and scrapped like multiple times, like maybe I don't know 4 times. Like
but
It
usually
just didn't fit, or what? Like, was it just that you couldn't, they didn't come together, or didn't suit the rest of the record?
I think we were trying to record like multi-track wise, like to a click, and then we ended up re-recording most of it live off the floor because every time we would play it, it would feel right. But then as soon as you tried to strip it back and lay down a guitar first, and it just wasn't quite working. So I think there's only like 3 or 4 songs on the album that aren't done live off the floor, at least the base of the tracks.
I think it was more trying to fit, make the songs fit together. Like maybe we'd have an attempt that was started a year ago, and it's like, oh, okay, well that doesn't really fit with the rest of the bunch now, so we might as well reattempt this.
Okay. So that stop start thing you mentioned a few minutes ago, during the pandemic when restrictions would come in and you had to kind of take an enforced break from recording. When you would come back to the record, did you kind of just move in a linear fashion onto the next song, or was there a lot of going back after, however many months and then retooling stuff that was already in the can?
Oh, it was repeatedly going back to things. Like I don't think anything was really finished and set in stone up until like the month before it was released.
Yeah.
Did they change considerably, or was it just kind of minor things you were tweaking?
A little bit of both. Like I think the song, for instance, Dollar Store Hippies was completely overhauled in the last couple months before the record came out, as an example.
Yeah.
Other things like, oh, let's put a guitar line on this or something, and whereas that's what we were putting it on didn't really change that much. It was just little additions.
Okay. What is the deal with the band name? I mean, it's memorable for sure.
Okay, well, it's some people seem to really like it and other people don't. But to me, I was just playing around with word images. I just made a list of a bunch of different things that gave me a specific visual, and just kind of matching those two pieces together. I don't know. To me, it really has a specific image and feeling about the name, I guess. What comes to mind for you?
Well, I was going to ask actually. Do you think that the name is evocative of the sound of the band? Because I get like kind of and maybe it's because I don't know. I get kind of a folk vibe from the name, but I don't think the record is a folk record. And I mean, you have folk elements for sure, but I don't think that's like kind of the driving sound behind what you do. And that's maybe me just taking the first word in the usual context of just people sitting around with acoustic guitars, But I don't know. What, like, do you think that it describes or gives people a good insight into what the music's going to sound like?
I mean, I do, but that's just me.
For sure. What about the rest of you?
I guess I don't know. I think all of our songs, even when they shift genres, I think they all have kind of a sing-along quality to them, where you could break them down with a guitar, and like I think just the melodic nature of our songs could be used as campfire songs, at least in my mind. What do you think?
In my mind, maybe a bunch of people around the campfire taking drugs. Maybe some psychedelics or something.
Well, that does fit the psychedelic part of the sound, yes.
And then they're looking at the fire and they're I don't know, seeing all sorts of angels and stuff like that.
Right on. That's a good. It's a good explanation of it. I think I can see that fitting more with it than just like some hippies hanging out and playing like Wonderwall or whatever.
Well,
What is sort of the plan going forward now? I mean, that record came out what like near the end of last year, right?
Yeah.
So what's kind of now that we're in 2023, now that it seems for the moment anyway that shows are still happening, the whole COVID restrictions are for the moment over. Like, let's hope it continues. But what are you guys hoping to do next as a band? Do you have plans for shows, for more recording, things like that?
Yeah, well, for the first time ever, I think we've had the confidence to actually self promote, whereas we never really did that. So we're actually taking steps to do that, and we have a bunch of shows coming up. We're playing this Saturday at the Handsome Daughter with Steve Basham, Vanity Dads,
Witchy Woods.
and Witchy Woods.
Yeah.
Playing again at the end of March at the Goodwill for the CKUW wrap up. In April at Park Alleys with Paige Drobot.
Oh, cool.
So we're kind of trying to get out there more. I guess historically we didn't really play out that much, so it's good to start doing that again. Yeah.
Did the songs sound different at all when they're being played live? I mean, I know and it's just the three of you. Obviously, on the record, most of you, as far as I can tell, are playing multiple instruments at different parts. I mean, there are some bits that are overdubbed and things like that. How does that translate to the live show?
I think we get it pretty close. We generally have on drums at the moment. We have Joe Prue, who also mastered the album. So we have him for our upcoming shows, and then our friend Gage has been doing keyboards and saxophone.
Cool.
And I think generally we make it as faithful as we can. Yeah, what do you think?
I was going to say, sometimes the vocals aren't as extravagant because we'll record them and have like a 36 person choir going on. Where on stage we'll do the best we can with 3 voices.
Well, unless you want to bring out 36 people to.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you have fairly regular shows coming up, though, right? I mean, almost like one a month at this point for the next little while, which is good. So,
Yeah.
Part of that, what you're saying about kind of promoting yourself, is that part of it too? Just making sure that your name is sort of out there and people are able to see you semi regularly in the city.
Yeah, I guess so. Being more active on social media, that's been helping. People have actually reached out to us and asked us to play. Where I mean, actually, it's the other way around. We're saying like, "Oh, can we get on the bill here?" Or approaching it from the opposite direction.
What has that side of things been like for you? Because I mean, just based on the conversation here, you all seem like very quiet people, and I mean, there's definitely an attitude on things like social media where you have to be loud, you have to be sort of in people's faces and sort of shoving your, especially with so many bands out there and everyone and their dog has a record they want to promote, and like just what has that experience been like? Because I know a lot of people sort of struggle with that side of things. They can handle the creative part great, but then it's like you have to be your own marketing manager and you got to be, PR person and all this stuff that really doesn't have anything to do with the music.
Yeah, it's definitely very intimidating. I don't think any of us are really inclined to do that, but out of necessity, we kind of have to. I know you've been kind of in charge of the Instagram, right?
Yeah, we've just been trying to just put stuff out in general. Like in the past, we would literally do nothing aside from maybe a release show or something. But we'd yeah, I don't know. So it feels like we're just trying to put ourselves out there more. And I mean, it's been great that people have been listening to the album, and seems to be getting a really good response. It's definitely getting played more than anything else we've put out, so that definitely means a lot.
Yeah, that helps to get the word out too. Just word of mouth, right? And people playing it on campus radio or whatever, or just saying, "Hey, check this out." It's one of the weird things about where we are now. I think in general is the way people consume music is so weird, and there's no. It's like difficult to know how someone's going to leave and listen to it. Like, what platform are they going to listen to it on? And even that alone is kind of unknowable. So yeah, it's I haven't been to band. I haven't been in a band in like over a decade, and I'm kind of glad I'm not. I'm happy I'm doing this part of it because that whole promotion thing it seems like completely alien to me at this point.
Yeah.
It is definitely very daunting because you know that if you're not making a move to push it, then it's basically not happening.
Yeah, it might as well not exist, right? Because people aren't going to be having it showing up on their phone and on their feeds and all this other crap. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's difficult, especially if you have um, guys like us who are not really inclined to do that. We're all pretty introverted and
Yeah. Well, maybe this is a good place to sort of plug where people can find the record. Then, I mean, what's the best way for someone hearing this for the first time and being introduced to your music? Where do they find you online? How do they listen to what you got out there, and how do they find out about upcoming shows?
Oh, well, we have a Facebook page and an Instagram page. Yeah, our music is available on all streaming platforms, and it's also all on Bandcamp. So, yeah, I guess that's the best way to financially support us.
and
Right.
we also have a website, campfiresigh.com. So everything is there, basically. Link to stuff. You can contact us through the website. I think we're working on a page where you can have show updates, but that's not currently active. But
Well, the good thing is it's a podcast. Someone could hear it today. It comes out, or they could hear it a year from now, and maybe by then,
sure, yeah.
they can check it out and find out where you're playing. Do you have anything sort of on the go as far as new songs? Are you working on getting a follow up to that record anytime soon, or are you just sort of living with this for now and playing shows to kind of promote this album?
Uh, Probably have like hundreds of songs that we could pull from.
And we've already started working on 2 more albums.
Wow.
So we're going to see which one is done first, I guess. But hopefully there'll be another one this year.
Is that the typical pace you work at too? Is just having that many songs sort of at all times?
Yeah, we're all constantly writing, and we're like 4 years behind on our songs.
Yeah.
We write separately and together, and yeah, there's a lot of like half finished recordings and stuff, so it's like a constant flow, really.